All right, welcome DoorGrow hackers to the DoorGrow show. If you are a property management entrepreneur that wants to add doors, make a difference, increase revenue, help others, impact lives, and you are interested in growing your business and life, and you are open to doing things a bit differently, then you are a DoorGrow hacker. DoorGrow hackers love the opportunities, daily variety, unique challenges, and freedom that property management brings. Many in real estate think you're crazy for doing it. You think they're crazy for not, because you realize that property management is the ultimate high trust gateway to real estate deals, relationships, and residual income. At DoorGrow, we are on a mission to transform property management businesses and their owners. We want to transform the industry, eliminate the BS, build awareness, change perception, expand the market, and help the best property management entrepreneurs win. I'm your host, property management growth hacker and expert, Jason Hull, the founder of Open Potion, Gather Kudos, Thunder Local, and of course, DoorGrow. Now, let's get into the show. And today I'm hanging out with a badass at sales, Jay Barby. And Jay is here to talk with me about integrating real estate and property management. And I think this goes right along with part of my little manifesto or intro that I shared at the beginning of making, that this really property management can be this really great lead generation machine for realtors. So Jay, tell us a little bit about your background. I loved your bio. It mentioned, selling. So tell everybody a little bit about you and how you got into real estate and just when. I'd love to hear how you figured out you were first a salesperson. So.
Yeah, sure. And thanks, Jason, for having me on the show. Appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely.
So back in 03, 04, I first got into real estate when, things were booming, especially in Florida. And we were doing a lot of new construction sales representing buyers. And, buyers were flipping in that market, right? It got crazy. And then all of a sudden there was this point to where those flippers could not sell their property anymore and make a profit. They didn't want to break even. They wanted to wait it out. And then the waiting it out didn't work. So what happened was I asked one person to start and I said, hey, would you think about renting out the property? They said yes. It was game over from there. I started growing the property management business, started growing the sales business, and then, fast forward 14 years later. And I guess, to answer your question, as far as when I knew that I was a salesperson, was probably when I realized a couple of things. Number one, that asking questions is the absolute most important thing to sales, and listening. Okay, because a lot of people will ask the questions, but not listen. And then also coming from a place of value to where you just want to give them value and help them get to where they want to be. One of the things I love about having a real estate and a property management business is because when I talk to somebody and meet with a client, we can talk about, look, what's the best situation for you? Is it to sell the property, rent it out, get a reverse mortgage, whatever it is? I'm not pushing somebody in a corner, but I'm just asking them questions to help them.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, I think we're in a lot of alignment when it comes to sales in that I believe you need to be really curious. I mean, if you really have the intention to help somebody, you got to ask the right questions. You got to get to know them. You got to ask those questions. And then you're right. There's no point in asking questions if you're not going to listen. And so listening and hearing, and there's so much to listen to and hear.
Like your dog.
There's so much to listen to and hear. He wants in the room.
He's
so
asking
so much
questions.
Yeah, there's so much to listen to and hear besides just what they say. And and then that allows you to ask deeper questions, to go even deeper, to get to what's really driving this and what's really prompting them to reach out. And then sharing value is what I'm all about. Like, I believe that we should give value before ever asking for value. And in sales, the old style sales model is like, hey, I'm going to tell you what I eventually will do for you, and you'll eventually get value if you give me your money. But I love the idea of like, let's give people value first so that they trust you. They see that you have value to offer. and then they're naturally going to be more inclined to give you value. So love this. So Jay, tell us a little bit, what's your perception in having a real estate business and a property management company? How can these work together, and what challenges do you see in the industry, in these two industries?
Sure. So first off, it's extremely difficult to have both of those and to be producing at a high level. Okay. So there's a lot of property managers out there, especially the ones in your group, that just rock it out. But many of them aren't really strong in real estate sales because most people don't have the time. You focus on one thing, you knock it out of the park, and vice versa. When you have real estate agents, geez, I mean, if you put 5,000 real estate agents in a room, you would likely have less than 3 or 4 that actually have a good, successful property management company. And look, one of the things that's really overlooked when it comes to that is most real estate sales brokerages, they're not covered in their E&O insurance for property management. And a lot of brokers don't know that, and that could really get you into hot water because, let's face it, property management, you have a lot more litigation than you do real estate sales, you know? I would say that one of the key advantages, like if I have an inbound lead coming in, when I'm asking them questions, well, I'll give you an example. 4 months ago, I had a woman who has a fourplex. The lead came in. Most times, well, I'll say all the time, people don't really know what they need. They think they know what they want, but it's not their fault because it's our job as the salesperson, either in property management or in real estate, to guide them and to ask them the right questions to get them to the final place. So she was saying, hey, I need help with managing these properties and taking them over. And that's when I started asking questions. We finally got, after about an initial 1-hour conversation, because this was a big deal. It was a fourplex. And she ended up having a commercial loan that was coming due the following year. She didn't have enough money to refinance that. Like, she was going to be getting into some serious issues. And it's my job to have the knowledge and the sales skills to ask those questions. Come to find out, the next day we had an appointment. We listed it for sale instead, and then we had sold it in 48 hours. But that decision came about because I was asking her questions and we got her to the place that she needed to be.
And because you were open to either option or either outcome. Like, a property manager only would be focused on how can I win this as a property management contract, and a realtor would be figuring out how can I get this listing or get this as a sale or a buyer, or whatever. They're focusing on that filter. And if you have either one as an option, your best interest is to serve them and their best interest, you can be more objective and you can be more confident in that sale, or in whichever route they're going to go. As long as you have a potential way of making it a win-win for you, your alignment can be in alignment with them. Like, you can be in alignment. So
exactly. And you know what? I mean, talking about alignment, we can talk about that a little bit more later, but that's a key to sales. So write that down. Let's talk about that later. But Many times when I'm talking to a lead for sales or property management, I will tell them up front, I'll say, listen, I don't care if we rent it out or if we sell it. It's going to be what's best for you. I mean, talk about what is a better place to come from value when you can tell somebody, I'm not trying to push them in a corner. I'm not just selling their property, just like with, if I was just doing property management. And that's huge. And if it's a seller lead initially, and we're talking to them about sales, but then asking them the questions, it has to do with the property management. It might come up in the conversation of, well, we might end up renting it. And is that a problem for you? And I say, no, look, at the end of the day, it's about what's best for you. And look at it this way from a business standpoint, because I'm always honest with people. That is big time with me. I am completely transparent. I use, what I heard a couple of weeks ago, the velvet hammer, right? So I give them the brutal truth, but I deliver it in a good way.
Right. It's
Yeah,
the
and I'll
tough love, as some people might call it in some instances, right? You
yeah, I
go
like
with
that
something
better.
that's potentially painful, but I like the idea of the velvet hammer. I smiled just when you said it, but yeah, sometimes it's like we're punching somebody in the face, and
Mhm.
it's what they needed to hear, but we're doing it out of love, you know.
Yeah, and I told and I'll tell someone, I'll say, look, if I rent it out for you and we manage the property for the next 2, 3, 4 years, well, that's fine with me. It stays in my program from a business standpoint. It makes sense. And then we can sell it down the road, and what's key to that is the long-term relationship, which is, eventually a segue to the relationship that realtors and property managers can have together that is not happening in a big way right now, and it needs to happen. It really does.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of the things I hear constantly about realtors is, and that I see in the real estate industry. So I grew up in a real estate family. Like my mom's a realtor, has been since I can remember. I have four younger brothers, and one of them does property management and doesn't do real estate, and uh, one does commercial real estate, one works now a bit with my mom, and he does residential. And so there's like real estate's always been around, and my dad's gotten into property management, which is interesting. So he's now doing that. And what I've noticed is that people's initial reaction is to avoid realtors. Like they try to avoid them. They're first trying to like, I'm going to for sale by owner, right? And then the only people that they're getting coming through the property are agents, right? And they eventually list with an agent because they're expecting the buyer to foot the bill. And so that doesn't work out. And then I've also seen people on the other side, they're not looking for an agent, they're looking for a property. So they're trying, how can I search the MLS without these guys getting their claws into me? And so I think part of that's perpetuated because in the real estate industry, you've got a lot of high D disc profile people that are doing well, right? They're salesy. They're sometimes viewed as sharks or pushy. And some people equate them mentally with like used car salesmen. Like they're these hungry people that want to get that next deal. And so the industry has kind of created this negative sort of perception, and people tend to try to avoid real estate agents. And so I see property management as this ultimate gateway drug to like getting them in on real estate business on the back end, because property management is high trust, it's high service, high relationship. And I think agents can learn from that by being focused the way that you are. Realtors can learn by just delivering value and letting go of that hunger and starving sort of outcome that they need, and delivering the value that they want to deliver to those people. So I love that. So question for you, if somebody just is, so for our audience, property managers, if they don't do real estate, what's their option if they want to have that freedom to say, hey, I want to do whatever's best in your interest? What would you say that they should do if you wanted to give away that real estate deal and they're not currently doing real estate?
Do me a solid. Give me 1 minute to talk about what you were just saying with people avoiding realtors. Okay.
Yes,
Because
let's do that.
that is huge. And it's something I always talk about. Most people don't know. Get this. I mean, you might know this, Jason, but it's going to blow people's minds. Do you know how many hours typically it takes to get a real estate license? Guess you probably know, but guess if you don't know.
Oh, I mean, I'm sure it varies, but in a lot of areas, it's pretty quick and dirty. It's pretty easy.
60 hours, 60 hours. And I'm passionate about this if you can't tell, right? I might just
like a
punch.
week and a half of work, right? Like a 40-hour work week. That's like a week and a half, like of hours of working. I'm sure it takes a little bit longer than that, but yeah.
To sell someone's most valuable asset, never mind. To sell someone's most valuable asset. Now get this. How many hours to get a barber's license in the state of Florida? Take a guess on that one.
Yeah, no clue, but I'm guessing it's higher because
2,000.
Even in massage therapy and these kind of jobs, it's far greater than 60 hours.
2,000 hours to give a $20 haircut. And I'm not taking anything away from barbers.
That's such a great point, because
I like my stuff tight.
Yeah, I mean, body work, massage, things like this, licensing requirements, hours invested is far higher than that. and
And
so
what
that's interesting.
you know what the average consumer thinks, right? For buyer's agents, they're order takers because most of the times they are, and I'm not taking anything away from realtors. Number one, there's tons of good realtors out there. But number two, the ones who are not good realtors is because they're not led in the right direction. There's no guidance in the industry that's clearly defined. But what there is plenty of confusion because everybody's being taught a bunch of different things. But realtors, consumers on the seller side, they feel like you were saying for sale by owner before, they feel like, wait, and if you sell real estate, you've heard this before, ready? Well, all realtors are the same. You do the same thing. What do you do different? So why not be, and this comes with sales, right? Why not be proactive in the objection handler that you're going to get and have a unique selling proposition? So when they ask you, well, what is it that you do differently? Well, I'm glad that you asked that question, but that is so important. I'm glad you brought that up. We can go back to that other question if you want to.
Well, I wanted to point out what you just said. The barrier to entry is really low for real estate in a lot of areas. It's really low, and the challenge is that exists in property management too. I mean, there's some states that don't even require a license to manage people's biggest asset ever. You don't have to have a real estate license or anything in a small handful of states. And then in others, it's any sort of licensing or requirements are real estate oriented and not even connected to property management. And so both industries, I think, suffer from that challenge that it's easy to get into, but the liability and the risks and the challenges can be pretty large, especially in property management. There's a lot of risks and liability that can be incurred. And so I think that's something plaguing both industries that I think over time, there will be, as these industries maybe season or as people, deal with certain challenges. I think especially in property management, if we see Australia as any sort of indicator of where our market might be heading in the US, there's the potential for a lot of increased legislation, a lot of increased protection, and that's going to level up the game of property managers and probably filter out the riffraff. So,
yeah, and technology is changing in a big way. And another thing with buyers is buyers don't need our websites. Like, what is it? 98% of people start their home search online as far as real estate goes. So they use the big ones out there, they use the Zillows, the Realtor.coms, the Redfins, the Trulias, and that's what they use to search for homes. And you know what? Yeah. Those companies are adapting and doing things, and the real estate market is changing, and it's changing for property managers too. I mean, there's some of these big companies out there, right, that are taking over market share in the property management space. And this is stuff that realtors and property managers need to be aware of. They have to have it on their radar, and you have to be, this is how I've been what I call recession proof, is because I stay ahead of what's happening. You have to pay attention to that.
Right, staying ahead of the curve. So, what was the question I asked before? People were avoiding. Oh, okay, cool. Yeah. So, property managers. So, if they're not doing it currently, how can they do that? What options would you throw out there? I mean, obviously, they could start a real estate business and start doing real estate, but what if they don't want to?
In my opinion, from experience, starting a property management company is a far greater challenge. There's a lot, you're taking on a lot more. But property managers that want to sell real estate, it's not as big of an undertaking. Now there's pretty much three options. So you have property manager that can decide that they want to have the real estate side of their business. And some do, but I believe that it's in a passive way. I've met property managers that will refer all of the sales business that they have. And and we're talking about organic sales business. They will refer that to realtors who happen to throw them property management business. I mean, talk about literally throwing away money. I think that's crazy because, yeah, you can capture that and just set up the site. And there's different ways of doing it and in different states, of course. But that's number one. Property managers can start selling real estate, but do it in a good way and have good, strong sales experience. Realtors, they can start a property management company. I would probably advise against that because the property management business that I have has it would consume, if I had 100 hours, in a week, it would consume 90 of those.
Right.
There's just so much to it. So
I have to throw this out. So I posted a question to our DoorGrow Club Facebook group, and if you're a property manager not in there, if you're the owner of a business in property management or considering it, you should be in that group. But we posted in that group, like, if somebody isn't doing property management, and they're in real estate, because I was about to do a webinar for a real estate organization, I said, what would you want them to know? And you want to know what most of them said? Don't do it. Most of them said, don't do it. Or if you're going to do it, make sure you put a lot into it and go all in, because it's not something that you can just easily strap onto the business.
It can cripple it. It can cripple a real estate business in just a year or two, completely cripple it if you don't do it the right way.
Yeah, it will explain that. Like, some people are like, well, how?
Okay. Yeah. Good question. There's so much more, obviously, that you need to know. And there's so much more in regards to systems. And I'm big into flow charts. I have that analytical side, which I know you have too. So, you have the leasing part of it, which is one whole beast. You have the marketing part. You have to know which software, because it's not like, just putting something in the MLS. You have to worry about, you have to show properties, you have to manage the properties, which is a whole nother thing. So, do you have the right software and the right website in order to take online payments, to take online maintenance requests? There's a bigger need, I believe, in that industry to have the setup for virtual assistants and to not have a brick and mortar office. And it depends on what your growth strategy is, but there's just a lot more in that circle than in real estate sales. And the liability. Yeah, the liability is the biggest thing. There's just so much more liability.
Yeah. And so now on the other side, you have a lot of brokers that they're doing real estate. They don't want to touch property management. They want to be associated with it because of that liability and that risk. They don't want to get hurt.
Yep. So what they can do, and this is what I recommend, and this is what I'd like to see, seriously, big picture. And I want to be, if I can, I want to be a part of making this happen for people, because there's a big, I don't know, you're the wordsmith, but I would say like disconnect between the cooperation between, or the integration between the real estate companies and the property management companies. Don't start a property management company unless you're really going to go for it, but know and have a good property management referral source who you've met with. You understand at a very basic level their product and what they do, so that you can sell it on a basic level. Or you don't have to sell it on a basic level, because I will not let any other realtors sell my property management product, because I'm a better salesperson than almost anybody I've ever met. But if the property manager is not necessarily the best salesperson, then they can teach them the realtor how to sell it. And then when they go on listing presentations, when they get leads in, a lot of times, especially in a shifting market. And come on, man, let's be honest. We've been going where? For a long time, okay? We all know markets are cyclical. And when that happens,
your whistling means we're going up, for those listening.
Exactly. Yeah. We've been going up for a long time. And there's a point in time to where, and this is starting to happen in Florida, where sellers, owners, they're considering, okay, well, I'll take it off the market because of increased inventory and I'll rent it out for a while. And as that keeps happening, you want to be a realtor who's prepared to go into a listing presentation, to consult with a seller, and to have that objection, to have that resource before it comes up. Because get this, if you have, say, just 6 of those, okay, of those people who decide that they want to rent out instead of sell right now, if you do it the right way, if you have an average commission sale of, say, $300,000 and say it's 3% in some markets, then that's $9,000 total commission. If you do 6 of those a year, where the business would go somewhere else to a company that does service both of those at a high level, and you refer it to a property manager who is not going to steal the business, they're going to refer it back to you, and they will pay you a referral fee to do that. Most of them will. I don't want to speak for other property management companies, but we do. Yeah, and then you retain that business, because if it's a good property management company, they have systems in place to where they're touching them. They're touching them at a high level. They're getting maybe 30 touches or types of correspondence a year. And then you get the sale when those people decide to sell. And if that's 6 deals a year, $54,000 a year. Seriously, do the math. It's not something that's out of the realm. I have realtors doing this all the time with the business they refer us.
Yeah. So, I mean, savvy property managers that also do real estate, they know how easy it is to steal real estate business from other agents. They know, because their relationship is so high trust, and they have an excuse to verbally connect and reach out to the client every month. Like, hey, we just fixed the garbage disposal at your property and we took care of it. Like, no worries. Or we took care of this. Hey, we got you a tenant. Like, it's always like we're doing all this stuff for you. Whereas a realtor hopes that they can do a deal with somebody, drop a card with them, and then 3 years later, they might get another listing from them. Right. And so, but they've been out of sight, out of mind that entire time. And this property manager has been nurturing that relationship ongoing long-term. Now, if they have a realtor referral relationship with this property manager, has a realtor referral relationship, and they have an agreement, and any of my clients would be happy to have these kind of agreements in place. Like, hey, you refer us, one of your real estate clients to help us manage their property, or we're going to manage their property. We agree that we'll refer them right back to you. And they stick to that because they know they're creating a referral source to get property management business they wouldn't have otherwise. And it's a fantastic way. It's a symbiotic relationship between both, and a fantastic way to create this win-win that helps both of them hedge against the market shifts. Because generally, when property management is really hot and the rental market's going really well, the real estate market is kind of the opposite. Like, and so as these things shift, both are able to create this business that works really well together, and they have this relationship in which they're not losing all their real estate deals. I've had real estate people reach out to me saying, hey, Jason, I'm thinking of starting a property management company simply so that I can retain the business that they're stealing from me in my market.
Yep.
And that says a lot. But most real estate people probably don't even realize that these property management companies are taking these relationships and deals away from them. And the property management companies are happy to give those back to them if they were referred to them. Otherwise, if they go find a property management company. So this is especially important for realtors that target real estate investors who have rental properties. It's especially significant if they want to retain that, because these are the people that do multiple deals. They often want to get into other properties if it's good. And if they have a good property manager manage it, it feels more turnkey, because the myth of real estate investing is that it's like some turnkey, easy thing. But managing a rental property is not easy for anybody, not even for the property manager. But they have the clout and the systems to do it well. And they can make these investors go, hey, this isn't really a big headache. I'll do more real estate deals. Yeah.
And if somebody doesn't, if there's a realtor who's going to try to get a listing and they don't, or if they have a client and they don't refer them to me on the property management side, or if they're trying to obtain the listing, well, guess what? If they refer them to me, they will retain that client. But if they don't, Well, guess what? I'm going to take it anyway. And if
Yeah.
I procured it on my own, so why not refer it to me? Because in an adapting market, and history shows us this, and it's common sense, the strongest survive. So if you're strong, if you have stronger skill sets, stronger systems, and that's another thing, like you were saying with, a realtor that sells a property and then, maybe 3 years later they sell another one. That's if the realtor gives good service, and likely, even if they give incredible service, realtors are not typically trained to have good systems in place to touch, right, in email sequences or value added sequences or phone calls, and a systemized approach over the course of the future years to get more repeat business. So most of them won't get it anyway.
So
And
can
then,
I brag about you, Jay? Can I brag
yeah,
about you for a minute? So,
I
so
don't
for
mind.
so
Do
so
it for 5 minutes.
okay, so so Jay is also a client of ours, and we're also in. We work with the same business coach, and so we get to see each other's businesses like on the inside, like the secret stuff, right? And Jay is a badass. And so one of the things I've really appreciated about Jay that I saw from the beginning that's unique or special about him in real estate or property management is what typically to close a deal, most property managers I would see total sales cycle time, phone calls, whatever, that would take people sometimes 2 to 3 hours to wrap up a deal or close a deal. Jay can do in like 20 minutes. He can do this like on a call, make people feel safe, get through the objections, like everything, like really rapidly. And so Jay's a badass at sales. He's a badass at closing deals. Now, here's what I've noticed though, most people in the property management industry are not badasses at sales. It's completely outside of their comfort zone. It's often outside of their disc profile. They're just not, they're more system and process oriented people. So, there's a lot of people in the property management industry there are a lot that are the flunkies of real estate. Like they tried the real estate thing and they're like, man, this feast and famine stuff and hunting deals, this is painful. I want stable residual income that feels safer and more is in alignment with me. And so there's kind of that disconnect. And I think again, that it just showcases this awesome matchup that can be made between a really high functioning brokerage and a really high functioning property management company in creating some alignment there.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for that. Also, if there's property managers who want to get better at sales, okay, sales can be taught. It's not it can be taught, and a lot of people don't believe that, but it certainly can, because it comes with asking questions, the tonality, the alignment. And you know what? And this might blow your mind. I don't know if you know this, Jason, but I sold 85 homes last year, and that's not me being braggadocious on that part, but 80% of the listings that I sold, I never met the client face to face. Never.
Wow.
And because it's all about aligning with them, most people, never mind like real estate agents, but most people, they'll tell somebody they're wrong in one way or another. You can't. You always have to agree. You have to be in alignment. You have to repeat, affirm, redirect. You can't let the client, in a good way for them, but you can't let them direct the conversation because they don't know. This is not their industry. So you repeat, you affirm, you redirect, you take control of the conversation, but in a way to where you're totally empathetic because you are and you care. And, if they say something that's like, oh yeah, it was on the market for 6 months and it didn't sell. It's like, oh my God, I can only imagine 6 months. You wanted it to sell, and then they say the realtor wasn't communicating, and it's like, well, look, I know exactly where you're coming from. It's not selling, and you're not knowing why. That's totally frustrating. And most of the times what people tell me is, you know what, Jay, because I asked them, they say, Jay, the reason why I chose you to sell the home is because you're different. You don't sound like the rest of the real estate agents that I spoke to. Mm-hmm. And that's important. Sales can be taught.
Yeah, I totally agree. And I'm a person who has learned. So I believe that some people are naturally inclined to enjoy sales more, And that was not me. And so I'm proof of that. I got really good at sales and learned to do it. But as soon as I realized that there were other areas in the business that I should be spending more of my focus and attention on, I got out of sales. I got out of doing it. And the advantage I had is that because I was so naturally terrible at sales, I came into it with my eyes wide open. Like I could watch and see what are they doing differently, and I could take in different programs and figure out, okay, this is why that works. And so I can share it and I can explain it and teach it to others. But that's still for me, and I think also for a lot of property management business owners, they might not be the person that should be doing sales in their business. Initially, they have to. Everything is sales, and that's part of what they need to do. But if it's not their natural genius or their natural strength or something that gives them momentum or makes them feel alive or excited to close deals and create those relationships and start those relationships and doing sales, it really is something that they can give to somebody else. But the opposite is true. You can have people that naturally are really inclined towards sales, but they're screwing it up. They're pushing too hard. They don't know how to ask the right questions. They don't know how to create the relationship effectively, but they want it, and they have the hunt and the drive, and they're naturally wired that way. And there's a disconnect that way. And so I think it's absolutely a skill that can be learned. And it's also a disposition that you want to make sure you're in your area of genius that you really enjoy and love doing. And when those two things are in alignment, it's great. So for some property managers, it would be getting a BDM to take that piece off their plate so they can just geek out on systems all day, if that's the case. And that's what they love. Or they might love doing the sales stuff and they go get an operator to geek out on the systems all day, either way. So, but I think that's a really important point, that if anyone can do it, I believe that I can learn to do it. Maybe not as good as them, but I believe that we all have the ability within us to develop or improve in any skill that we really care about, that we want to focus on. So
it's being taught the right way, and it's practicing that as well. And it starts with, most people are not taught the right way. And like you were saying too, you have to work within your strengths. So you have natural ability. Bo Jackson was great at football and pretty good at baseball. Most people aren't. They're good at one sport. You know what I mean? So leverage the other things. If I'm great at sales, and I have and I'm great with the vision and then running with things, but I am not a great implementer. But you know what? I have Kristen, who is an outstanding implementer. So you just have to surround yourself and leverage.
Yeah, same thing. I've got my operations manager, which is Matthew, and he is phenomenal. He loves the spreadsheets. He loves all the planning. He loves the meetings. He loves all of the nitty-gritty details that really just make me feel uncomfortable. And I get to have the vision and the ideas, and he keeps me grounded and says, we're not going to do that this quarter, Jason. We can do that next quarter. Let's stay focused on our goals, right? And I'm actually getting more done as a result. So totally get it. So, well, I think we've covered a lot of different topics, Jay, and this is really exciting. Now, I know you have this awesome real estate course that you've been developing. It's unique in the marketplace. You've worked with a lot of top real estate coaches and been in their programs. You've been doing this a long time. You really do things a different way, and you've got this program coming out. So for those that are interested in developing that sales side of their real estate business, or realtors that are listening to this that are struggling, how can they connect with that? And maybe you can tell them a little bit about that.
Sure. Yeah, thanks. So doing this for 14 years, I have literally spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on trying to figure out the right way to do these things, the right systems, the right way to sell, personal development. Because number one, it starts with mindset. Mindset is number one. And then planning. Most people don't have strong business planning and setting goals. And if they do, then they don't know how to manage their time well. And they don't have consistency with that. So there's really just so much to it. And I've been training and teaching and coaching other agents for years now. and getting them great results. I mean, everybody used to ask me, and they still ask me, hey, Jay, what do you think of this? Or what do you think of that? Even agents that are producing at a very high level. And it just seemed that I had some really good insight, and I'm really good at that. So what I did was I put together a 90-day course, and that 90-day course will take an agent. And I'll tell you what, for what it costs and what an agent is going to get out of it, number one, they're going to dramatically get more income. They're going to save at least 25% of the time that they're spending, and they're going to be able to leverage that or just cut out the waste. Because let's talk about, just briefly, leads that come in. Everybody wants these leads. Let's talk about, in real estate sales. And there's a big detriment to getting a big number of leads if they're unqualified and if you don't know how to process them and qualify for motivation and time frame. And that's in any business. But there's just so much to it. So anyway, if anybody wants to know more about that, it's very easy website. It's 90dayroadmap.com, 90dayroadmap.com. And you can get more information. And we're giving away a freebie, which is the ultimate guide to getting listings, the 7 most critical elements that no one else is talking about because there's so much confusion in the industry.
Love it. All right, so check it out. All right, Jay, thanks so much for coming on the show. It's always great to connect and hang out with you, and excited to see what you're doing to change the real estate industry.
Yeah, man, I love it. I love what we do together and how it works together. So
love it.
Yeah.
All right, we'll be doing some more. All right, I'll talk to you soon.
All right, cool, man. See ya.
All right, cool. So if you were watching this and checking this out and you got some value out of the DoorGrow show today, make sure you are a member of our community. There is so much value in there. Get inside the DoorGrow Club. You can get to that by going to doorgrowclub.com and check that out. And we've got a lot of free resources in there, free items inside the files section. And so check that out. And then you will also get an initial by joining the group. If we accept you and allow you in, because you have to apply, we don't let anybody in. We actually only approve a third of the people that apply to join the group to make sure we keep this group clean and tight and awesome. If you're accepted, then you will get a series of emails, like 5 or so emails dripping out, just telling you, giving you free stuff, telling you where to get free resources, free things inside the group, including, fee guides, fees you can add to your property management company, including ways to, how to escape what we call the cycle of suck and property management hell, and all kinds of goodies that we'll give you for free. And then, and if you are interested in growing and scaling your property management business, and you want to add 100 doors over the next year, or even 200 doors, or you want to scale your growth, then make sure you check out doorgrow.com and get a call scheduled with our team. Nobody is creating property management growth the way that we're doing it. We're taking property management companies and rehabbing them and turning them over into growth machines. That is what we do. And make sure you talk with our team and get going on that. We're looking for the best and the coolest and the most contribution focused business owners in the property management industry. Those are the people we love to work with. We want to support. We want to change and transform this industry. So reach out to us. And that's it for today. And thanks for tuning into the DoorGrow show. Bye, everybody.